Hey, it's Tuesday. It was a great day at work. It was really busy, so the day went by pretty quickly. I did have a few hours at the end that were pretty relaxing. I just kind of sat around and helped a little bit because they don't normally have somebody stay all the way till 7. They usually switch at that 3 o'clock, so I kept my same patients. I did like one round and then passed everything off to the 7 to 7 a.m. person. I had 7 ventilators to begin with, and then I was able to extubate one. The one I extubated was my only COVID negative patient. So all of my other vents are COVID positive, and they are pretty darn sick. One of them was so sick that they couldn't even go from the regular ventilator, the settings we had them on, to the travel vent. The travel vent is very simple. There's not a lot you can do with it, and so they did not tolerate that. So we weren't able even to transport him to CT. The census amongst the nurses and the therapists that I've talked to is most of these patients who are coming in with COVID, if they end up on a vent, typically don't make it. A few of them have seen a couple people survive after a vent and leave, but for the most part, that's kind of the end of the story, unfortunately. My sad story today would be that there is one of my patients had just been taking care of his family. They got sick, and he was out. He was doing the shopping and just being around them and taking care of them, and none of them ended up hospitalized, but he's the one that ended up on the vent, and that's just really sad. I think the hardest part for me is just to watch these patients be so sick and dying and not be able to have family there. And the sad part for me isn't for the patient, because most of our patients, they're sedated. I don't know if they hear you when you're talking to them. I don't, that's up for debate. But I do know that as a family member, that would be so incredibly hard to just know that your loved one was in a hospital dying and you couldn't see them, you couldn't comfort them. I think it's more for the well people away. Just like at end of life, we don't always keep people alive for their benefit. We keep them alive for the living people's benefit, to come in and to say their goodbyes. And so that's been like really sad and really hard, and a lot of the nurses have said that has been like the hardest part for them as well. We oftentimes joke about how annoying it is having family members there, especially if they're like in the way or asking questions or like on top of the patient. But in all reality, it's incredibly sad that these patients are just alone, and sad for their families. We had a code in the ER today that didn't make it, and kind of thinking about coding and stuff, that is done so differently now with COVID-19. So I found out today that if any of my ICU patients do arrest, so if I have a full arrest and they're already intubated, I am not supposed to take them off the ventilator and bag them. I am supposed to just adjust the rate on the vent, which is weird, and it goes against everything that I have been taught and learned. But the reasoning behind it is they are trying to prevent the healthcare practitioners, workers, from getting anything extra into the air. If you're part of a code, you're supposed to get a new N95 mask because there's usually more particulates in the air. And so just the way that we're doing things, so most of my patients are actually DNR, so they were intubated, but the families then have turned them DNR. I do have a couple that are full codes, so if they do arrest, that will be interesting to see, to be part of that. Hard and difficult to try and change the whole way that you've been taught to think, to make these adjustments. But I think the people here in Boston are kind of used to these adjustments now because they've been seeing them so frequently. I was grateful for the day that I had today. I get to go back to work tomorrow and hopefully have the same patients. I feel like I finally found my bearings in the ICU. I've learned the travel vent now, and how to do weaning, how their doctors like to wean their patients off the vent, because people do it a little bit differently. And as a night shifter, I didn't do a lot of weaning. If I was extubating back home, a lot of times it was just I was withdrawing, so support. So kind of cool to do weaning trials here, and then to extubate my one patient. we'll kind of see how the next day or two goes. Things are busy, but again, it wasn't like a crazy day. I didn't feel overwhelmed. I was grateful for how busy it was, and I did get myself tucked into another shift, so I won't have 3 days off this week. I'll just have two, which I'm grateful for as well. So I will keep you guys posted, and if there's any more good stories, I'll let you guys know tomorrow. Thanks for watching, and I hope everybody's being healthy and safe.